Kia ora, I'm Lauren. So today's class we're going to focus on the psoas muscle. And the psoas muscle is a deep core muscle that connects the lower back through the hips to the inner thigh area. And this muscle, especially if you do a lot of sitting, can get very short and tight and weak. And this may show up for you if you have restrictions with your breathing, you have lower back pain, and also if you don't feel like you can stabilize yourself very well when you're standing or walking. And when you're sitting, you may find that you are hunching a lot. So for this class, you will need a strap. And I'm going to be doing awareness work and release of the psoas muscle. And then I'm going to do a 10-minute class that you can add on to this class, or you can do them both separately, which will be focusing on the strength building and more of the active work. So let's begin. You grab your strap. And we're going to take it around. I was about to lie down. We're going to take it around the lower ribs. If I can hold on to the strap. Okay, so you want to take it around the lower rib cage. Cross it over in front of your chest. Then just hold on to it. Make sure it's not too tight so you can still breathe. And so the focus of the breathing is to see if you can notice subtleties with your breath in the lower back. And we will start off with a couple of rounds of breath seated, just so you can get an idea of how it feels. Then we're going to come to lying on the front side of your body. And then we'll come to child's pose, all with the strap around you. So I've got a TheraBand, which has got a little bit of spring in it. You can use another strap, any type of strap. You'll just have to pull a little bit harder when you come to lying down. Okay, so let's just take a few moments to sit up tall. So maybe moving from side to side through the sit bones, lifting up through the crown of the head and drawing your chin in. And then just allow your awareness to come into your breathing. You may like to close your eyes here. And observing the subtleties that you may feel in the lower back, in the rib cage. So the psoas muscle is indigitated with the diaphragm muscle, meaning that it's connected through tissue, through fascia. And so if the psoas muscle is tight, it can limit the capacity for the diaphragm to drop down into the abdominal cavity, and in turn not allowing much air to come into the lungs. So just another 1 or 2 cycles of breath. Notice sensations that you're feeling. You feel the rib cage pushing into the strap as you breathe in, and rib cage hugging in as you breathe out. Okay, now keeping a hold of your strap, you're going to start to make your way down onto your front side. And so you may need to just adjust the strap, maybe pull it a little bit tighter, and then once you feel in a comfortable position, you can rest your head down onto your hands. So by coming into this prone position can help to relax the abdominal muscles and also bring more awareness to the back side of your body, so the upper back and also the lower back as you breathe in and out. And the strap's there to just provide some feedback for your brain. So as you continue to breathing in and out through your nose, if that's comfortable for you, pay attention to these areas around the mid to lower back. Notice if there's any tightness or any tension. Observe if you're feeling any pain. And can you sense any restriction with your breathing? We'll just take another cycle of breath here. And then bring your hands alongside you. You'll start to lift, holding onto my strap, lift your torso up, and we'll come to a child's pose. So you can use the strap again just tying it in front of you, and then just allowing your abdomen to settle against your thighs, again resting your head down into your hands or maybe onto a block or blanket. Again, just breathing here, keeping your awareness around the back. And you're looking for just subtleties, any contrast that you may notice between the left and the right side, any restrictions that you may feel. Just take another 1 or 2 cycles of breath here. And slowly lift your chest up. Just remove the strap and just so you can put it off to the side and then come onto your back. So allow the base of your skull to rest on your mat, or if you need a wee blanket, you can use that as well to support your head. And then drawing your chin in towards the ground, so you've got a nice long spine. Okay, we're going to be doing some arching and some curling. So just taking your hands just onto your abdomen or onto your hips, you'll start to lift your abdomen up towards the ceiling, so you're creating more of an arch in your lower back. And paying attention to the muscular contraction you can feel just at the top of the pelvis. Just holding there. Notice the arch of your lumbar spine, so your lower part of the spine. And then you'll just slowly release. Just come back to a neutral position. Let's do that again. So your arch up, navel up towards the ceiling. Again, observing contraction that you may feel in the lower back. You can even use your hands, using your fingers and hands just to feel around. And then you'll slowly release back to a neutral position. You may need to adjust your pelvis. Okay, let's take it in the opposite direction now. So navel draws down and towards the ground. So now you feel your spine lengthen against the ground. Holding here. Feel maybe more of a contraction now through the front. And then slowly release back to a neutral position. Let's do that again. So navel down and towards the ground. Feel your spine pushing against the ground. Notice what you're feeling here in the pelvis, maybe in the buttocks. And then slowly release. Come back to neutral. Now we'll move in both directions. So you're going to arch up, navel up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in, allowing your abdomen to expand. And then as you exhale, you're starting to contract through the front and lengthen through the back. And again, breathe in, arching. And then breathe out to go. Let's do one more full cycle. And come back to a neutral position. And from here you're going to push down into your feet and start to hover your hips above the ground, maybe 1 or 2 inches. And then just tip from side to side. So the hips stay hovered and you're just moving from side to side. So pushing down on one foot and then the other. Notice any sensations that you feel in the lower back, maybe in the hips. Okay, come back to center, lower back down. Just pause. We're going to do that again. This time we'll make a figure 8 with our hips. and it'll be your expression of a figure eight, whatever that looks like for you. It kind of feels like if you're rolling a barrel down a hill, whatever works for you. And don't worry if you get a bit of rhythm. If you can do one direction, see if you can do the other direction. And then we'll take a little bit of brain work. Totally out of rhythm. Can't remember which direction. Okay, so come back to center and just slowly articulate your spine, come back down to the ground. Again, just pausing here. And then keeping your feet on the ground. Now you'll rock your hips from side to side. Not so much about the feet, the legs going from side to side, but the back of the pelvis going from side to side. Notice how you're feeling in the back of the pelvis. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper. So you'll take your right ankle onto your left thigh, and then lower your knees down to one side and then to the other. And you want to keep the movement small enough that the rib cage isn't lifting up off the ground here. So you're really isolating this movement to the lower back. Notice if you can feel any pulling, especially through the lower back. Okay, let's come back to center, switch your legs over. So right ankle onto your left thigh, and then you go from side to side. Observe any differences you may notice. Notice if the range of movement is the same on both the left and the right side. And again, the rib cage stays fairly close to the ground here. Okay, and then you'll make your way back to center. Just release your ankle, lower the feet down, and take your arms just alongside you. Now you're going to extend out through your legs. So legs go long. And then start to push down into your heels. So anchor the heels down and draw your toes up towards the ceiling. You feel quite active in the legs. And do note if your legs are turning outwards, feet turning outwards, can you be heavy down through the inside edges of your heels? So your legs, your knees and your toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. Just observing the sensations that you feel here. Notice any areas that may be causing you pain as you do this. And then you'll just slowly relax, maybe just bounce your knees up and down. Okay, bend your knees. Just pause for a moment. Now we're going to do the similar sort of movement, but we will start to walk out one leg and then the other. So you'll push down through your right heel, toes up towards the ceiling, and then push forward as though you're trying to get your foot on the wall opposite you. And you'll notice as you lengthen through that right leg how the left leg starts to hike up. And then relax the right leg and then push down into your left heel, push out through the right sole of your foot. And again, knee, toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. And relax. And then again, push out through the right leg and feel as the right leg extends how the left leg hip hikes up. And then again, relax both legs and then push out through the left leg and notice what happens to the right hip. We'll do it one more full cycle. So relax and then push out through the right. And notice this difference between the two sides of the hips as you do it. So notice what you're feeling as you push out through the right foot. Relax and then push out through the left one. So this is a similar movement to do when we're walking. So notice any pain that you're feeling in the lower back. Notice where you feel the movement initiating from in the body. And then just relaxing both legs. Maybe give your knees a bounce, or you can give your knees a hug in toward your chest. Maybe rocking from side to side if that will feel good for you. Okay, take your legs down again. Now take your hands one behind the other behind the base of your skull. And we'll start to come over to the left side. So you're going to arc your spine over to the left, so your upper body over to the left, and you can start to visualize drawing your right elbow towards the back of your room. So you're lengthening through the armpit, the ribs, all the way down through the hip, and then you're going to start to push out through that right leg. So again, pushing out through the sole of your foot as you draw your right elbow away from the foot. And visualize breathing into the right side of the body here. And can you observe that psoas diaphragm muscles connection? Just one more cycle of breath. And then relax the leg. Bring your upper body back to center and just pause. And let's come over to the right side. So you'll start to arc your body over to the right. Just stay within your comfortable range of movement. Again, you're going to start to lift up through the left elbow as though you're trying to get your left elbow towards the back of your room, and push out through the left sole of your foot. The toes up towards the ceiling. And again, observing the diaphragm psoas muscle connection on this side. So can you visualize breathing into the left lung, left rib cage? And it's just a visualization. Still be breathing into both lungs. One more cycle of breath. And then relax the leg and slide your upper body back to center. Just take a couple of cycles of breath and observing anything you may notice in the body. Okay, then bend your right foot and bring your heel up towards your buttock. And left leg will stay long. And turn your hands so your palms are facing down, so you can use them to help anchor you to the ground. Okay, now you're going to start to push into your right foot and allow your right hip to start to lift and roll over towards the left side. Just hovering it above the ground, and then you'll slowly release. And we'll do that again. So push down into your right foot and allowing the right side of the hip to lift and roll over towards the left. And then release. Now take your left arm up above your head towards the back of the room. Again, push down into your right foot, allowing the right arm, the right hip to lift, and then lengthen out through that right arm. And then release, lowering your hip back down. Slide your right arm again back down to alongside your body, and then reach your left arm up. So now you again push down into your right foot, lift the right hip, and then lengthen out through your left arm. And then slowly lower back down, release your arm. Let's switch the legs over. So I'll start with bending both knees. Observing again, so pay attention to anything that you may observe, notice in your body. And then we'll switch the legs over. So right leg goes long. And we'll start with the palms face down, bringing your left heel a bit closer towards your buttock, so you've got a little bit more range of movement. So push into your foot, allowing the knee to drop over towards the right and lifting the hip. And then slowly lower back down. And let's do that again. So allowing the hip to lift and roll over towards the right side. Just check in and notice if the side feels any different. And then you'll slowly lower back down, just relax the body. Then take your left arm up above your head. Push into your left foot, rolling the left hip up, and then reaching out through your left arm. the arm, lower the hip, and then switching. So your right arm is up, left arm down. And last time, so push into your left foot, rolling the hip, knee over towards the right, and then reach out through that opposite arm. And relax back down, and lower the arm, bend both knees, and readjust your pelvis. Just tune into the sensations in the lower back. Okay, so keeping your feet about hip-width distance apart, you'll start to slide your right leg forward, pushing down through the heel, toes up towards the ceiling. And then you're going to start to hover your right leg above the ground. Just hovering it there. And can you start to sense where that movement is initiated from? You can feel it deep in your pelvis. You can keep the inside edge of your heel drawing down towards the ground. And then lower your leg down, just relax and bend your knee back up. Okay, let's do that again, the right side. So again, slide your leg forwards, pushing down through the heel, toes up towards the ceiling, and then hover your leg above the ground. Again, notice this right deep into your center, into your pelvis. And lower the leg down, bend your knee, and then maybe just move your pelvis from side to side. Okay, left side. So slide your left leg along, pushing down through the heel, again toes up towards the ceiling, inside edge of your heel heavy, and then start to hover. And again, pay attention to where you feel this movement initiating from in the body. Holding. And lower your leg down, bend your knee, and just readjust if you need to. Do it one more time on the left, so you slide your leg long. Again, draw your toes up towards the ceiling, so you're coming into dorsiflexion, hovering your knee above the ground, your leg above the ground. And always checking in, noticing or observing the contrast between the two sides. And then lower your leg down, bend your knee, and then again you can give your knees a hug, maybe rock from side to side. And then take your feet together, knees wide, so butterfly pose. And hands behind the back of your head, either interlaced or stacking. Now take a breath in. You can draw your elbows down towards the ground, so you feel it broadening across the chest. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to curl up, drawing your knees and elbows towards each other. And then lowering back down, take a breath in. And exhale as you curl up. Elbows and knees hugging in towards each other. And lower back down as you breathe in. And exhale to curl up. Again, hugging, knees in towards each other. Support the head, so allow the head to be heavy in your hand. And lower back down. One more cycle. Curling up on the exhale, hugging those knees in. And slowly lower back down, release your arms. And just step your feet fairly wide on your mat, knees bent. Take a few moments just to observe your breathing. Notice if there's any subtle changes. Then we'll come up to a tabletop position. So maybe give your knees a hug. You're welcome to rock and roll up. Or you'll take your legs long with your hands underneath your buttocks and push your hands, your forearms down into the ground and slowly start to peel your chest up, coming all the way out to sitting and then all the way over to a tabletop position. So first of all, we want to stabilize through the upper body. So push down into your hands, spread your fingers, lengthen through the arms. Just feel nice and stable through the shoulders. And these are about hip width distance apart. You're going to allow the pelvis to tilt forwards, so as though your navel's trying to get towards the ground. So you're moving into an anterior tilt. And if your pelvis is full of a bowl full of water, you'll be tipping the water out. And then you're going to pull the pelvis back. So navel draws in towards the spine. You're moving the pelvis into a posterior tilt. And we're stabilizing through the upper body, so it's only the lower part that's moving. And so tip the pelvis forwards and then pull the pelvis back. Let's do that again. Move with control here, so you're not just falling into the ground. Again, you're stable through the chest. And see if you can find the place in the middle, so where the pelvis is neither tilted forwards nor backwards. So just find that place in the middle. And we're going to just hover the knees here. So curl your toes and hover your knees so you can feel the global tension in the body. Notice all these muscles that are turning on to hold you in the pose. And notice what's happening in the abdomen, the lower back. There's muscles there that are there to stabilize and support you. And you can lower your knees down. So keep those muscles in the back of your mind as we start to come into the next variation of the pose. So you're going to start to extend your right arm and left leg out away from each other. And you don't want to drop the navel towards the ground here. Again, we're not rounding. Stabilize through your center and hold. So toes are pointing down towards the ground. So that same movement we were doing when we're pushing out through the legs, reaching through the arm. And then lower your hand, lower your knee, reset. So again, find that place in the middle for your pelvis. Stabilize through your center, and then you're reaching left arm, right leg away from each other. Again, can you reach out through the limbs? Notice the stability in the torso. Notice if you're rocking around a lot. Continue to breathe here. Try not to hold your breath. And then you'll lower your hand down, lower your knee down. And then you just lie back to child's pose. Okay, now rise up to come into low lunge position. So take your right leg forward, hands onto the pelvis, and you want to almost feel like you're pulling back through the right thigh bone to help just adjust the pelvis. So the pelvis, especially if the right side's lifting up a lot, feel like you're pulling back as you're pushing forward through the left one. Okay, now we're going to again just tip the pelvis forwards and backwards. So let's start with hands onto your hip points and tip the pelvis forward. The movement's not necessarily very big. And then you're going to tip the pelvis back, bring the rib cage down, squeeze the buttock. Probably notice this through the front, so the hip flexor muscles. Pay attention to what's happening in the lower back. Release. Let's do that again. So tip the pelvis forwards. And then pull the pelvis back. Again, keep the rib cage drawing down. Squeeze the buttocks. Breathing. Let's do it one more time on the side. So again, pelvis tips forward, so there's the anterior tilt. And then you're pulling the pelvis gently back. You just start to feel a length. Again, rib cage down. Squeeze the buttock. And then release. Hands down, switch your legs over. To make sure you feel comfortable in your knee here as well. So again, can you pull back through your left thigh, allowing the pelvis just to settle into a bit more of a neutral position. Okay, now hands onto the hip points, tip the pelvis forwards. And then pull the pelvis gently back. You can notice what you're feeling at the front of the right thigh. You can keep the rib cage down, squeezing the buttock, and then release. And then anterior tilt. And you're using your hands to help guide your pelvis here. And then posterior tilt. And you're not going, it's not a big movement. You can just hold and then release one more time. So tip the pelvis forwards, and then tip the pelvis back, squeeze the buttocks, rib cage down, and breathe. And slowly release, hands down, put your left knee back, and then come to lying on your back. So take your right ankle onto your left thigh, right ankle onto left thigh, and then we'll drop the knees down to the right. If it gets too strong with the ankle on the thigh, just drop the foot onto the ground. Okay, and then take your left arm up towards the back of the room. And then you may like to take a hold of your left wrist with your right hand. And just lengthen here through the left side. You can use your right ankle to slide down your left thigh. And then let's slowly switch. So bring your knees back up, left ankle onto your right thigh. Again, lower your knees, this time to the left. And again, you can always put your foot on the ground if it's too strong for you. And then your arms up above your head, take a hold of your right wrist, and you want to feel like you're lengthening all the way from the waist up through the ribs, armpit out through your fingertips. Simultaneously from the waist down through the hip, all the way out through your right knee. And slowly release. Just place your feet on the ground. Give your knees a hug. And then take your feet together, knees wide, and just feel your spine against the ground. So again, base of your skull on your mat, chin drawing in. Then feel your lower back pushing down into the ground here. Notice how you're feeling, observing your breath. And you're welcome to continue now with the strength building classes, and the link will be at the bottom of this video. Otherwise, stay for a few minutes in Shavasana and just allow your body and nervous system to process all that's gone on. So thank you for joining me.